So we have our model for the house complete, but it's not quite right yet because there's no foundation for it to be resting on. And I want to create a foundation for this, a full foundation, according to the handouts from the project. And I've got dimensions and I've got specifications basically of where the foundation is going to go based on what we plugged in during the project setup. So best place for us to go to do that is to go to the top of concrete level. So I'm going to go to TOC level and I'm going to shut down those views and go to the View tab and tile again so I can see this time the top of concrete level and my full 3D model. If you're not able to see these grade lines, it's because you don't have the underlay first floor turned on. If this says none, then you won't see anything. And we want to see the first floor underlay so that we can see where we need to connect our foundation walls. So let's give this a try. Now foundations, if we go back to the front view, foundations when we define them will be defined based on our dimensions. So foundation walls get defined in a negative direction. So let me just show you what I mean. If we go to architecture and we click on walls and we click on the foundation, I want an 8-inch foundation wall, so I'm going to pick on 10-inch foundation wall, edit type, duplicate it, change that 10 to an 8. This is no different than what we did with some doors and windows earlier. And then under structure, I'm going to edit that structure so that it says 8 inches instead. Okay, so now we've got an 8-inch one, but notice that it says that top constraint is set to top of concrete, and there's an unconnected height of 7'5", but that's going to go in 7'5" in a negative direction. So I'm just going to give this a try and we'll see where it lands. And we'll see if this will work for us, okay? So foundation walls you draw from the top down, okay? So I am going to use the pick lines tool and I'm going to pick the outside face of stud. I'm going to undo that because I went in the wrong direction. I want to pick the outside face of stud and I want the hidden lines that I see there to go in the correct direction. Let's go to the top. This should be not finished face exterior, but core face exterior. And yeah, so let's see if we can get it to go where we want it to go. So if I hit the tab key, there it is. That's the direction we want it to go in. I know that's kind of hard to tell. But we can also fix this if it doesn't go in the right direction for us. You see what I'm doing is picking on the outside face of stud in every direction. And here I want to go. Foundation will pick the walls again. I somehow got kicked out. There. Alright, so see how that completed our foundation walls, and there are foundation walls, and what we want to be making sure of is that our walls and our floors and everything are lined up from the outside face. So this is where it really makes a lot of sense for us to generate a section view so we can check that. So to create a section view, we use the View tab, and you'll see there's a section for creating a section cutting plane line. And I'm just going to click on one side of the building and then click on the other, and it creates, I just hit the escape key a couple of times, it creates a section line and points in the direction that we're going to be looking in. I want to view that section. I can go over here and see that I have the plus sign next to a section. There's that section that was just created. Or I can double click on that section view and it's going to show me the section in this view. Now I'm missing some walls here in this section, and that's a result of this section showing a specific discipline in particular structural. So that means it's only going to show structural elements like foundation walls, but not the architectural elements like our wall systems. So I'm going to switch that discipline to architectural, and then we'll see all of our walls. When I zoom in a little closer, I cannot see the wall layers in here. So what do I do about that? I change my detail level from coarse, which is going to always be the default level, to medium. And as soon as I do that, I can see that the outside face of my walls is lined right up with my floor system and the outside face of concrete, which is what we refer to as our building line. So that's perfect. One of the problems that we have here with this is I'm just realizing, I'm noticing that where our subfloor isn't matching where we want our subfloor to be with our floors. Also, we have only think a 3/4 inch gap here where we're supposed to be able to fit a 2x6 mud sill. So I think that 3/4 is here, and it should be down here where this this line we're suggesting should be our subfloor, and this line here should be our finished floor. In Revit, however, first floor is always referenced to finished floor, so where we need to make our adjustments is actually with this roof and with this number here. So we need to subtract 3/4 of an inch from this value. So I'm going to change this to 8 foot 3 3/4. And we need to increase this number by 3/4 of an inch. So that's going to change this to 1 foot and 1/4. And it's going to be a negative value. Better. Okay, do you see that now we have the gap here? That's the correct gap, and the fact that we could make those changes and not ruin our model is really important because we attached our walls to the proper levels, and so those changes were able to be made. And I wanted to make sure I did this on purpose so that you would see how important it is to have these walls and these levels attached so that you can make those changes on the fly. So now we have just the right amount of room here. Let's just check it. If I go to this, use this quick align dimension tool, I can click on the bottom of the floor, the top of the wall, and I get exactly 1.5 inches. That matches our mud sill depth, so I know that that's correct. Now a little later on in these videos, when I start talking about customizing, we are going to extend these two layers here outside down to the top of concrete, and then that will cover that face, and then we'll be creating a swept profile for the top of the wall that will create that mud sill. What's happening here, however, is this wall and this floor are not connected, they're not joined, and so it's appearing as though our mud sill would rest directly on finished floor. It should rest directly on subfloor. So we need to join this wall with this roof, and we do that by going to Modify, hit Join, select the wall, select the floor, and what that does is it it makes it so the the structural layers and the found on both of these, the walls and the floors, connect because they kind of have a hierarchy. They based on where they are in the wall and the floor, it says or explains how the wall and the roof wall and floor, when they're joined, how they're going to connect with each other. So we do the same thing on the other side. We join this wall with this floor, and you probably would want to go around and do that throughout your model. And so we'll get into more detail with that when we get into creating the wall sections and things like that. So now what I'd like to do is just go back to that 3D view, and we know that everything's aligned now properly. And what we're missing here is the footing and our foundation and our slab. So to create the footing is a structural element. So we go under the structure tab, and I want to create a structural foundation wall here, but the wall size isn't correct. So I'm going to edit the type, duplicate it, and I want that to be 16 inches by 8 inches. And so the width would be 16 inches. Make sure you put the inch mark in there. And the thickness of the foundation footing would be 8 inches. Now I can select the bottoms of the walls all the way around, just following the profile. And you see that that automatically places a footing at the bottom of the wall that matches the size that we define. Lastly, I'm going to go to the top of slab view and go ahead and create my slab. So to create the slab, we go into a floor under architecture, not structure. Let's create a floor system that is going to be this time just a 4-inch concrete slab. And I want to pick my walls, and I want the walls the inside face of the walls to define the boundary of my slab, which is the pink walls follow the inside face. Once you have a closed shape, hit the green checkbox, and let's go back to that section view that we created earlier. We can see that the slab is lining right up with the top of slab. Problem is our walls and our bottom of footing aren't in the right place. So we need to fix that. So we need to set our bottom of footing. Let's see here. I think it is that we've got to attach these foundation walls to bottom of footing plus 8 inches. So let's select all of the foundation walls and correct that, because they just stopped at top of slab instead of bottom of footing. So in order to select all of the foundation walls, I can do that with this view by clicking on one foundation wall, and then I can right click and choose select all instances in entire project. That's going to select all of my foundation walls in the entire project. And I want to attach my base constraint not to top of slab but to bottom of footing, but I want a base offset of 8 inches, and that should do exactly what we want. Now I have the bottom of footing at the correct location. I have my top of footing at the correct location because I set my footing to 8 inches. My slab is resting directly on my footing, and my top of slab is in the correct location. So because we were careful about thinking about these things here with this section, we had a lot less difficulty getting all of these pieces to work and getting the right numbers. And that's probably one of the most important things to take away from this first lesson, is those best practices. I would never set up a Revit file without having an idea about how I was going to build it. Now obviously we've got a few things that we're missing, but we've got the basic elements here. For instance, I am not using an ICF for my foundation right now, but we're going to make those changes and I'm going to show you how you can do that. And so at this point, the next steps are for us to create stairs that go down into the foundation, and we'll add some topography.